The Navajo people are known for a number of things, such as the Navajo rug and the silversmithing that is done, but also the participation in the World War II and the use of the language as Navajo Code Talkers. So what I have here is a rifle from World War II. It's not an M1 Grand, but nonetheless, this is the only one that we could get at the moment, on the spare of the moment. But the Navajo people, the young men that were aged 16, 17, 18, enlisted and participated in the Second World War. And during that time period, there was as many as 400 young Navajo men that enlisted in the Marine Corps and participated in the Code Talker program. And the young men that were recruited, it was after December 7th, about 4 months after, in 1942, that they began the enlisting of the Navajo men, specifically for using the language, but they weren't told that that's what they were going to do. But the Navajo young men enlisted, and they went through the training program down at MCRD in San Diego, the Marine Corps Recruiting Depot, and then they went on down to over to Camp Pendleton and participated in further training there. And that's where the code language, the code that was used by the Navajo Code Talkers was developed. They recruited 29 of them that they used to develop the code, and it was all based on the use of the language. But it's interesting because these young men had all gone to government schools and boarding schools and that, where they tried to make the Navajo never speak their language again, to take the Indian out of the Indian. It's like taking water out of water. But this punishment was very severe when you spoke the language of our people. In the boarding school, they'd spank the palm of your hand with an oak ruler, or they would make you stand in a corner, and sometimes even deprive you of food and other things as well. And so the effort was made to have the Navajo people stop speaking their language. But when World War II happened, it was that they needed the language of the Navajo men and people. And so some of them lied about their age and to be recruited. I think there was only one that was over 30 years old, and he lied about his age and made himself younger so he could enlist and be accepted into the Marine Corps. But it is that sometime during the war, after they had developed the code language, it was very easy for the Marine Corps to realize that previous to having the Code Talker and sending messages over the open airways, that the enemy would intercept the message, and they would know exactly what it was that was being planned. And so all of the codes were being broken until they implemented the Navajo Code Talkers. The Navajo Code Talkers could send a message over the open airways, and they would have one at each end to receive and to send a message. And the Navajos were able to do something that the military, when they did it, it'd take them 10 to 15 minutes to send a message and then receive it and decode it. But the Navajo Code Talkers, they could send and receive messages in just seconds. They could deliver the message. And as they island hop from Guadalcanal up through the Terra and Saipan and the Solomon Islands, finally they had to do the Battle of Iwo Jima. Our Navajo people don't call it Iwo Jima. They have a name, Iowa. Iowa is sometimes the way that they say it, or Awa. But it is that the fiercest of all the battles took place, and the United States military needed the Iwo Jima. and the fighting there lasted for about a month. And they had 3 divisions of the United States Marine, and they had about 70,000 guys, and there was a lot of people that didn't survive, that were either wounded or didn't survive. There was at least 27,000 of our Marines that didn't make it. And it was that after 39 days or so that they finally did secure the island. But then it was the Navajo Code Talkers that sent the message after the flags went up on Mount Suribacha. And as I've been told, that the message was the Be-Banat-Zi, which is to say the eye of the sheep has healed. And that meant that Mount Suribacha was secure. And when the Navajo Code Talkers sent that message, and they sent it out to the flagship out on the ocean, they broadcast it to everybody else, and they was all happy and jumping up and down, and the horns on the ships were going off, and it was like they had won the game, little realizing that they still had 31 days of fighting. And but the flag raising on Iwo Jima, the iconic photo that is taken with the raising of the large flag, that's the second flag that went up. There was a smaller flag that went up before that one, but the large flag is the one that is photographed. And in that one you see Ira Hayes. Ira Hayes is at the back of the group, and his hand is the one that's just leaving the flagpole. And the photo, of course, has been reproduced, and they have the monument at the Arlington National Cemetery in Washington, D.C. And on that monument is the inscription, "The uncommon valor was the common virtue of the Marines," and that on Iwo Jima. And the Navajo Code Talkers, of course, as Navajos, they always carried the corn pollen pouch. And every one of them that I know of that went and served as Code Talkers always carried with them their corn pollen pouch. And then the other thing is that they had a medal developed, and on the back of the medal is what is depicted as a sand painting. It's used in one of the ceremonies, and the story about the sand painting that's on the back of this medal is that there are 4 ways to communicate, and it is in our traditional teaching. There is the speaking to communicate, the writing to communicate, and then the hand motion to communicate. But the 4th one is the telepathy of the non-use of words. And the Navajo Code Talkers, a lot of them talk about the way that they were able to communicate sometimes with one another just through their minds and through their thoughts. And that's something you don't read about in the ways that the Navajo Code Talkers were able to communicate with one another. And there was never an error in any of the messages that was sent and received by the Navajo Code Talkers. In the first 48 hours of battle on Iwo Jima, they sent over 800 messages, and there was not a single mistake. And as I mentioned, the brass in the military said without the United States Marine Corps Navajo Code Talkers, it would have been very difficult to take Iwo Jima. They needed that island. It was 500 miles from the mainland of Japan, a country that had never ever been invaded and never had ever lost any kind of a war. And they lived by a code which was the samurai code of honor and death. But they also faced the United States Marine Corps that had the teachings of discipline, loyalty, honor, and valor. And so it is that that's the information that I can share with you about the Marine Corps. But there are websites and that you can check out. Zoe Gorman has a wonderful website. She's the daughter of the oldest Navajo Code Talker. Her brother, most people know throughout the world, is the Navajo artist R.C. Gorman, and they're from Chinle. But you can check out the websites about the Navajo Code Talkers and gain a lot of information that is available. Well, that's what we are told.